Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's tutorial, we're going to be looking at how to use the having clause in a SQL statement. So in the other tutorial, we looked at how to use the group by clause and also how to see how you can use the group by clause along with the the where clause, right? So sometimes you might group by a certain column and then try to perform some aggregated column. You want to perform some aggregation on another column, and you want to use the aggregated columns to as a condition inside of your where clause, and you might run into an error. So for example, I have this code right here. So let me just jump into this code. So I have this code right here. And in this code, I'm trying to go ahead and select the product line and the count of that product line, right? And after that, I want to select the product lines that have more than 3 products in there. Okay, so if I go ahead and run this code right now, you can see you're going to get an error. It says that unknown column the product line. Okay, so why is it telling us unknown column the product line if this column is already created? Now, this is the reason why this occurs is the product of is because of the order of execution. So if I go ahead and just let me just comment this out for now. Let me just comment out the while clause and let me try to explain to you something. So now you can see you don't have the where statement, the where clause. So if I go ahead and execute this, you can see we get back the product line column, and then finally the number of products within that product line. So good. So, but if I put in the where clause, right, it fails because I'm only trying to select where the product line, which is this column right here, is more than 3. And if I run the code, it's going to fail. It says that the column does not exist. And why is that the case? And the case is because of the order of execution. So let me just go back to the slide and let me just try to explain to you this. So you can see I have the order of execution right here. So the first thing is going to a SQL server is going to perform is a from, and then finally the where clause, and then finally the group by clause. So you can see that you are grouping by something. You are grouping by the product line, right? And for the grouping, we are creating an aggregated column which is called product underscore line, right? So once we perform the aggregated column called product line, that column only exists after running after the server executes the group by clause, right? So at the point of executing the where clause, that column of product underscore line does not exist. At the point of executing this where clause, this column does not exist. So that's why it says a non-column of product line because of the order of execution. That's the reason why we are getting an error in a SQL statement, a SQL query basically, because that query cannot at the point of running the where clause, this column does not exist. This column only exists after the group by is done, and then finally perform the find this aggregated column, right? It only exists after the group by is done, and the whereby is executed before the group by is done, so that the column does not exist. So what's the solution around this? The solution around it, you can see we have a having clause which is executed after the group by clause, and having clause is very similar to where clause, just that it's executed after the group by clause, meaning that we can use the having clause instead of the where clause, because at the point of executing the having clause, the aggregated column that you're trying to use to filter has already been created. So let's go ahead and actually go back into in here, and let me just show you what I try to mean. So I just go ahead and say you're going to say having right here. So when we say having, if we're having clause, but it must be executed after the where clause, the group by clause. I'm going to move it right here at the bottom and then put it right here, and I can clean up this. So now if I run the code again, now we can see we get back an output. It's going to return to us all the rows in which the product line is greater than 3. So you can see we get back an output, right? It works perfectly. So that's the difference between a where clause and a having clause, is that the where clause is executed before the group by clause, and the having clause is executed after the group by clause. So most of the case, if you're grouping by something and you're performing some aggregation, just probably go ahead and use the having clause instead of using the where clause. Okay, so yeah, that's one of the major differences between the having clause and the where by clause. That this does not mean you cannot use the where clause when using the group by clause. We can also use the where clause, except that we cannot use it for aggregated columns such as the product name. We can use it for other columns. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let me just I have the products table right here, so let me just go ahead and select all of this. So I'm just going to select all of this and copy it, and I'm going to go ahead and say here, I'm going to say where. I could submit perform where that's called the product. Let me just take the product name, right? So the product name is product name is equals to, and then I'm going to go ahead and pass it in here. So it's equals to what I've just copied from that table. So I'm going to paste it right here. So let's go ahead and run this. It's going to work. Hopefully, yeah, it works, and you can see that it works, and we don't have any product name that matches this, and that's also that matches the having close condition where the product line is greater than 3. So that's basically how you can use the where clause as well, but it must not be an aggregated column right here. It must not be an aggregated column, but the having clause must be an aggregated column right here, right? Must be an aggregated column where the where clause is not an aggregated column from the list of columns that you're trying to select. Yeah, so that's the major difference between the where clause and the having clause. So you can actually look at some of these differences. So the where clause is used to perform row-wise operations, whereby the group by the having clause is used for column-wide operation. So after grouping, perform a column-wide operation instead of just a row operation like in the where clause. Yeah, the where clause can also be used with the derived columns. Can be used with derived columns and aggregated columns. Cannot be used with derived columns and aggregated columns, whereby the having clause can be used with derived or aggregated columns. So in our case, you can see we are calculating the sum, the count of the product line, which is you can think of it you can think of it as an aggregated column, and you're trying to use it inside of a where the having clause, and it works. Whenever you try to use it inside of the where clause, it fails, right? So yeah. So if I go back here, you can also see the where clause can be used with a group by clause. Yeah, it can also be used. Even the having clause can also be used by the group by clause. Can also be used with the group by clause, and it is commonly used with the group by clause. So if you're trying to group by something and trying to do some filtering, you can just go ahead and use the having clause, right? But whenever you're using the having clause, make sure that it is from the column that you're trying to use with the having clause must be from the list of selected columns, right? Must be from this list of columns right here. So it must be from this list of columns right here. Okay, whereby the where clause, it doesn't have to be from there. So the where clause can be used in select statements, in delete and update clauses, and the having clause can only be used in select clauses. It cannot be used anywhere else. So a where clause can be used with single row functions like uppercase, lowercase, whereby you can be the having clause can be used with multi-row or functions such as like the sum, the count, and other stuff like that. And you can see right here we use it with the count, right? And you can also use it with the sum and other stuff like that. So yeah, that's the major difference between the having clause and the whereby clause. Okay, so these are some common difference we have between the two. Yeah guys, so that's all for this video. Now we look at the difference between where clause and the having clause, and how and when to use which and when not to use the other one, okay, so to avoid running into errors. So that's all for this video. If you guys like this video, make sure you give the video a thumbs up, you support the YouTube channel, and you share this content with anyone you think might find it helpful. That's one easy way you can support the channel. Another way you can like the video and share this content, support the YouTube channel and share the content. Okay, so thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Keep safe.